Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the first episode of the Game Boys Treehouse of Games. My name's Owen, and this is my longtime friend and fellow Game Boy Andy.
Hello.
Here at the Treehouse, we're going to talk about some of the games that got us into gaming, and we thought to start off, we'd talk about one of the most influential games that we've been playing on and off for probably the past 12 years, and that's going to be the original Gears of War that was released by Epic in 2006.
Yeah.
So, going back to a game that came out 12 years ago, 14 years ago, what did you think? How's it holding up so far?
Oh, man. So I think what you're talking about with the game, one of the game series that got us into gaming. I think we've been playing Gears of War on and off for 12 years. I haven't been playing Gears of War 1 on and off for 12 years because
No, that means you're not a real gamer. This is already over.
apparently it doesn't, because if this is one of the hallmarks of gaming, which I don't think a lot of people think that, but if that is considered, man, this game did not age well at all. I think when because we played this together, right? I think it's kind of, especially for when we're doing the Gears of War games, we're pretty much doing them exclusively together. I think the main thing that we kept coming back to is that, like, man, this game must have been great in 2006, but
It's true. I think the thing I ended up saying the most was, you know what? I think if I was still, well, how old would I have been? If I was still 8, this would be mind blowing.
yeah. No, I think even if you were, in your 20s, because we're in our 20s now, if we were this age 12 years ago, we would have been like, this would have been one of the best. I mean, Halo 3 came out the next year, so it would have been over. But, like, thinking back to it, the graphics, the way this game looked, the weird masculinity, I think the gunplay, I think this was all, like, fresh, groundbreaking kind of content for 2006. Especially when you think about this was like one of the big games that put 360 probably on the map.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were talking about a little bit when we were actually playing the game, and that we didn't actually talk about a lot then, but that I wanted to bring up was the graphics are not great by current standards.
Yeah. No.
But I think they definitely were at the time. Like, from what I've read of other people's reviews, they definitely they were impressive for the time.
Well, I mean, I remember playing 2 in 2008, and that 2 was ridiculous to me that a game could look like that. But, like, to put in reference though, Gears of War 1 is 2006. Star Wars Battlefront 2, the OG, was 2005.
That's not a lot of time for the difference.
Yeah, like, it is, I mean, like, for the time, it's a good-looking game. I feel like a lot of this review is going to be us saying for the time.
So, you say specifically, like, you remember the big difference between Gears of War, like, the original 06 version and Gears of War 2 that came out in 08.
Yeah.
The stupid similarity that comes to mind for me is when I got my Xbox One, so that would have been a little over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I got it at a Christmas deal, and you got Gears of War, the remastered version.
Yeah, the
which we'll
2015.
talk about later. But you also got, as like a special at EB Games, you got to pick either NBA 2K16, which I was going to get because at the time I was into making stupid
March
characters
Madness
on EA games. But they didn't have it, and the other option was WWE 2K16.
An even better game if you want to create stupid characters.
And I played it for probably a week, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But even at that point, I could kind of look and be like, these graphics aren't awesome. I'm not super impressed.
I'm fascinated to see how this connects.
But I have a distinct memory of Christmas, I think it was 2009.
Okay.
2008, 2009.
Okay, I get you. Now, I see it now.
The heyday of the GameCube.
Where are you going? What are you talking about?
So Christmas morning, I wake up and my parents bought me a GameCube. Me and my brother a GameCube and like a little like a couch to watch it on and a small TV.
Privileged people might object to this, but to this day, if I woke up on Christmas morning and someone had gotten for me a GameCube and a small TV and a small couch, that would have been the best Christmas of my life. So I need to see the story to the end, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I got a couple different games with it. One of them, I believe, was Billy Hatcher.
Okay, classic.
Which I enjoyed a lot. But one of them was WWE game. I think it was Day of Reckoning, based on the box art I'm looking at. And if you look at some screenshots from the game, it is the characters are about as wide as they are tall.
Yeah.
And a lot of the animations for the flip moves and the tackles and stuff is more the characters lifting up into the air, turning horizontally, and pushing the other character over.
Yeah, the GameCube was not great animations was. That might.
But I remember bringing the GameCube into the living room because I was gonna play on the big 32-inch TV.
Sure.
And my dad was sitting on the couch behind me, and he said, "Holy shit." I walked in, and I actually thought you were watching Raw. And I was gonna ask you why Raw was on a Tuesday.
Okay.
And I just remember, looking at the TV and going, yeah, I can see why you'd believe that.
What? Hold on. I have whiplash, by the way, because we started this, we were going to talk about Gears of War, and now we've been on a 3-minute GameCube analogy. I think I see where you... Hold on. So were you telling me... Are you trying to connect this to say that it's 2008, I'm playing Gears of War with my friends, and my dad... no, let's say your dad walks into my room, and he says, "What war just started? What are you boys watching on CNN?"
Yeah, he walks in, and instead of "Are you winning, son?" he's just like, "When's the draft, son?"
When's the draft? No, the answer is no. I'm not entirely sure I still understand the genesis of that story, but are you trying to say that
I remember thinking that early in like 2008, 2009 that WWE Day of Reckoning was it.
Right.
I saw no.
Oh, I see what you're saying. There's no way that's gonna get better than this.
This many polygons in a character. Also, the characters don't have nipples.
That is weird. I'm gonna try and bring it back around to Gears of War.
No, feel free.
Because I agree. I think I see what you're saying, absolutely. But I don't think there was ever a point where I was, because my main problem, and this was back in 2007 or whenever I started playing this game, and it still holds true to now, playing it with you over the weekend. The game is has no color. It's completely desaturated. Which was
the most color is every once in a while you'll see one of the, what are they called, drifters? Stranded.
Yeah, the dudes left behind.
Wearing an army olive green type bandana.
Yeah.
Or, a ripped shirt or
and
something. But other than that, it's grayscale.
Yeah, I mean, but there's little breaks in it, like you said, because when you show up, your soldier boys, they have little blue accents on them, and when you look at the bad guys, the guns are red and stuff like that. But it's so drab. That's part of why I think it ages so bad. Is it has a unique design aesthetic to it, but it doesn't nail being interesting because it's just so devoid of life. It's just so. I think that's one of my biggest problems with this game. Is the environments.
So one thing I completely agree. The game's really dark, and there's no way getting around that. To me, though, it almost seems like maybe it was purposefully supposed to be a little kind of grayscale to be more realistic.
Yeah, because it's trying to be brutal. You can you can get that very easily where they're almost it's a little bit too nu metal, edgy at times.
Yeah, they tried a little too
but
hard
they tried.
places.
They did try. Compared to the other games at the time were probably was it Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter that I think came out with the launch of the 360. where it was also like. But I will tell you, is that if we're giving this game a bad rap for being desaturized. Did I say that right? Desaturized. If you look at the rest of the launch lineup for the 360, it's exactly the same. I mean, Rainbow Six, Vegas 1 and 2 are horrifically like there's no color in those games either. Which it's Las Vegas, so it's literally all lights and neon, and somehow they found a way to make that game desaturated. So I think it's just my problem is I was talking about the environments. There's no variation in this game. You're in a city for 6 hours maybe, and then you go down to the mines, which are the same color as the city. Should we talk about the story of this game, by the way? I'm just now realizing we're 14 minutes in. Should we try and recap the quote-unquote story?
Yeah, so we'll finish off what you were saying about the environments, because I completely agree.
Well,
One of the biggest things I noticed...
I don't want to spoil the ending sequence just yet.
No, I'll save that one.
Okay. Because that's its own.
You start in the city, then you're in the city at night,
yeah,
and then you're in the mines.
Yeah.
But from the city to the city at night, the only thing that changes are the enemies.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
From the city at night and the city at day to the mines, the only thing that changes is kind of the texture they used for materials. Like
sure.
You go from wood and concrete to rock.
Yeah.
But everything is still kind of the same, like gray, dark brown, black, white, little bits of blue from your cog soldiers. That should make it really easy to find the collectibles in the game, but for some reason don't.
The collectibles even glow. They really telegraph it.
What, 12?
Yeah, there's 30 in the game. First off, they put the Gears of War symbol, which is like a gear with a skull. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone who's played a game in the last 15 years is familiar with the Gears of War symbol. There's you'll see it in spray paint in various areas of the level, and that's to tell you, hey, idiot, collectibles nearby. And the collectibles are these glowing little, dog tags. But even still, with all those signifiers... But this is a whole... I kind of want to get into the story first, because there's that whole other thing. There's other problems with kind of the collectibles and everything else. The overall difficulty of the game.
Yeah.
So the story, for those of you who don't know, the story is that there is no story. This game...
Pretty much.
This game just starts you off, and you're a dude named Marcus Phoenix, which is, by the way, marketing executives coming up with a quote-unquote cool guy name. They're like, what's a cool guy name? Marcus Phoenix. And we give him a do-rag and a goatee, and we shove him out there. You're Marcus Phoenix, and you're released from jail. They don't tell you why you're in jail. They don't tell you why you're being released. But you get out of jail, and then you go straight into a war zone. And then people are mad at you. They call you a traitor, and then they go, by the way, we have the bomb. They don't tell you what the bomb is or what it does. They just tell you, we have the bomb. We need you to go you're finding this thing that's going to map out where the Locusts live. So really all they tell you is that we're in a war. We're losing? Question mark? Do they ever explicitly say that we're losing?
I will be completely honest. We played that game for somewhere between 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
And
probably
more or less paid attention to what was going on.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the game, I did not understand whether or not what we had just done was supposed to be an end-all, or if it was supposed to be a battle in the war.
Yeah.
I truly have no idea whether we were winning that war.
And the more we were...
Based on the fact that we, as two characters... So even counting our deaths, say we died a total of 15 times.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably accurate.
To 30 soldiers, and we killed thousands of enemies.
Probably.
So you cannot come out of here and tell me that there are not enough Gears soldiers who aren't wearing helmets to win this war.
So that's the weird thing, is that I think when we were trying to answer this question, all the knowledge and context that we were using was context from the other games. Like
Yeah,
they
no,
really
100%.
they really wrote one fourth of a story and then they backtracked it afterwards to try and just see what they could fill in, which I guess is kind of fun because Halo did that. If your Halo One is very bare bones, and then they kind of tell you more about Halo as Halo goes on. Uh, hey, oh,
I've actually started playing the Master Chief Collection recently, and I found that. So I guess I played a little bit of Halo 3 when I was like in middle and high school, but I never got to actually play them. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and play through them, and I got about halfway through the game, and
mm-hmm.
I was like, obviously aged mechanics aside, I have no clue what's going on.
No, I don't want to get into this because this is a whole. If we sidetrack
This is for another day.
this is for another day because I could just sit and explain because I could listen. It's different, but that's the thing is that is a game that you don't understand what's going on because you're playing Halo 3 and there's two other games to predicate the story. We didn't understand what was going on in the first game. And as far as I'm aware, Gears of War isn't based on anything. Like, there's not like a book, you know?
So there were books that came after. I did find that out. Like,
Yeah.
this was the game, and then I think that maybe they realized they're like, ooh,
I
we
really
didn't
think
say a lot.
I really think they thought they had the next Halo on their hands, where they're like, this is an epic story that is gonna teach the world. But I will say, so what you do find out contextually, right? We're at war. We're
There's a
humans.
bomb.
There's a bomb. No, I meant a little bit more abstract. We're at war, and I don't think they don't mention the planet, but it's not Earth. You're not on Earth. We're just humans
I
on a
think they
planet.
imply at some point that it's not Earth, because I did know playing through it originally that it wasn't Earth, but that might just be because of like the place names they use.
Sure.
Because they call it like Ashen Fields or
Yeah, they
whatever.
make up a bunch of different cities where they're like, oh, Jacinto, and you're like, okay, well, that's not a real place, so clearly,
It's
there's some.
pronounced Colorado.
Yeah, you're like, I believe it's called Boulder, ma'am. But yeah, so you're humans. You're on a place that's not exactly Earth. I think you can kind of also tell that because the game has a distinct like gothic architecture to it, like art style. So it's very surreal. Like I don't, and that's fair. I mean, you're also. I'm not expecting this game to be talk to me like I'm an idiot. Like you can kind of figure out the clues. So there's a huge war between humans and these aliens or monsters called locusts, and they pop out. Pretty much all they tell you is that the war isn't going so well because they can pop out of the ground pretty much whenever you want, or whenever they want. And that just leads to the mechanic of you guys will be walking, and then a hole opens up. I'm pretty sure I don't need to stress. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have played Gears of War, so I don't think I need to explain the core mechanics of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking of mechanics, the mechanics are as bare bones as a shooter can get, so they aged okay.
It's honestly they stuck really well with like third person shooter, um, with the exception of the reload mechanic, which was kind of the only truly innovative thing about the mechanics. They focused on being in cover a lot more than like Call of Duty or something like that. But that mechanic of actively reloading your gun to get kind of a bump up, a speed boost, and even a little damage boost, I believe, if you do it at the right timing,
Yeah,
was the only thing that's really any different than like the other games at the time, and even a lot of like more modern games. And
yeah,
like you said, I think that's why even now, like playing the original game, which hasn't really been updated much since then, it's still fine. Like there were obviously a few little issues that probably just got glossed over. Like I think you got stuck in cover a couple
oh,
times, like permanently stuck in cover.
yeah. We were playing the 360 version because we were keeping it OG. We didn't play the remake. But yeah, the amount of times that my guy would just I would go up to cover and then I wouldn't be able to shoot or aim And every time I would leave cover, I would leave for a moment, and then I would just suction slowly, just slide back into the same cover. There was a few times where I would just have to pull out a grenade, kill myself, have you revive me, and that was what would unstick me. It's very weird. But I think you're right, which is that it's such a bare bones, basic kind of shooting mechanic or like play style that it's kind of like Uncharted or any of the other kind of third person games that you're right, it wasn't really a problem for us in 2020 to sit down and play it and be like, this is horrific. It was just, I think the problem that we had was that it's lacking such a tightness that the series and shooters in general have gained over the years that it just feels completely unpolished.
The only other, I will say, like, you're right, there is definitely not necessarily a lack of polish, because at the time this was a polished, finished, like, high-rated game.
It's like, Owen, you ever go to Goodwill or Value Village and you're in the pottery section and you don't even buy pottery, but you're like, I'm just gonna fucking stroll through these things because I got nothing else to do. And you pick up a nice plate or a nice cup and you're like, this is nice. 20 years ago, the polish on this thing, the ceramics, they were top notch. Now,
20 years ago, when my grandmother was making her China collection,
yeah, absolutely.
if she had walked into Sears and seen this on the shelf, it would have come home with her.
Absolutely. But over time, that polish, it fades. Also, you just made me really sad how much of the actual plate and dinnerware at a Value Village is like grandma stuff that the grandma passed and the kids suck, and so they just tossed it. They wanted to toss it in the garbage, but then their 17-year-old like eco-conscious kid was like, Dad, you can't throw this away. At least donate it to a Value Village in London, Ontario.
Where it will be cherished forever.
Yeah, where I roll in, 4 days later, and I'm looking for a good analogy for my video game podcast.
And you're like, yeah, this'll do.
And you're like, this'll do, pig. No, I think you're right, which is that it is extremely polished. I will say one little dynamic to the game, because it's a bare bones kind of shooting mechanic gameplay style. The guns, there's only 9 guns in total. There's one of every type of gun: one grenade launcher, one sniper rifle, one shotgun. Except there's 2 pistols and there's 2 assault rifles. One for bad guys and good guys, right? So it's very basic, but they do add the cool mechanic of the enemies, because they pop out of the ground as their, deep lore states. They'll just keep coming, and a fight won't end unless you can find a grenade and toss it into the hole and close it. I actually didn't get tired of that. I thought that was a cool mechanic.
Only real issues I guess we had, like, obviously you were saying you got stuck in cover a few times, and I think once we just had really bad timing and messed up on a mini boss fight. The only real issue we had was random objectives just not loading.
Yeah, there were a few times. That's something I think I found on just the the backwards compatibility system on the Xbox in general, is I feel like it just creates weird bugs in games. I don't know if you and I sat down on a couch in our shared studio where we're recording this right now, and you like pulled out a 360 and a copy on disc and put it in. I don't know if that would happen as often, because I found this in other games I've played where I just beat an objective and just nothing happens.
I will say, I don't think anything outright failed. I think we just had to wait a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we're also impatient, so when that would happen... Well, there was one, towards the end, there's a fight where you have to defend... You're inside this kind of mansion estate area, and you have to defend it from people that are coming in, and there's like 3 different spots that could come in. After you close up all those spots, the doors are supposed to open, and you're supposed to just run out and greet the rest of your team and continue on with the story. For us, there was a solid 20 minutes where one enemy would spawn every 2 minutes and nothing else would happen. And so we were just kind of running around and we weren't paying much attention until finally one of us was like, hey, this isn't going anywhere. Like, why is this doing this? And I think we're pretty pragmatic. We just turned grenades on ourselves.
It was one of those things where it was like, I'm positive of what's happened. There used to be an issue with Black Ops 2 Zombies, where they would spawn. I mean, everything spawns off map with games like with that game and with this.
Sure.
They would spawn over this one specific ledge in city and get stuck, and then you would stand there and you would hear the noises and you could hear it like with your proximity audio.
Yeah, and the round would never end, right? Because
it would never end unless you could like arc a grenade over to where it was. And I imagine it was something like that. There was probably like one grunt somewhere that was just like running face first into a wall.
Probably, yeah.
Not entering and letting us finish the objective.
But like we said, they weren't real gameplay hiccups. It was just a few minutes. Because I looked up when we wanted to do this project. I wanted to see how long it would take to beat this game. And the average was 10 hours to just beeline through the story. 10 hours. We finished it in 2 sittings. I think we started it on like a Tuesday and we finished it on like a Friday, right? Gave us a couple days to breathe. We both have lives. Yeah. And I think, honestly, we did it in 7 hours. Like, it's really not difficult.
I think if you took away the time, so between, like you said, we had that glitch, and then there was one other one where it did eventually come through, but we did kind of just sit around for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'd say we lost a good half hour.
Well,
just being really dumb.
Yeah, I mean, so one is part of our glitches. I think if you're an attentive player, you'd figure it out quickly. We were talking about Animorphs, and so we were a little bit preoccupied. We weren't paying attention until finally we realized. But yeah, the whole dumb thing, we were simultaneously too smart and too dumb for this game in a way that I don't think I've ever experienced something like this in a very long time. Because you would... No, please, go ahead.
I think a big reason is because, as games go on, we have to get more and more creative with puzzles and like I don't know, not platforming, but like level design where you're just kind of walking around.
Sure.
And where this was a bit of an older game, there were still a lot of tropes that if you put them in a game today, the people would be like, oh yeah, that was kind of stupid. But at the time were great. And because I think both have like a pretty okay opinion of the game, we were just assuming they were going to do something a little more interesting.
I think we just didn't realize how dated a game could be, honestly. I feel like we both were like, oh, I remember Gears of War somewhat, so. Like, the biggest example that comes to my mind, and I think the bookcase. There's a sequence where something is happening. They don't really explain. They kind of throw things at you to vary up the gameplay, which I appreciate. But it kind of makes no sense. Randomly, they'll just be like, oh, there's a sniper in the street, so we have to go into the houses. And they just kind of send you off the beaten path into this house. And when we were navigating the house, there's a part where you have to shoot or melee a bookcase to free up a door. And then you just walk through the door. But we stared at it for a good 20 seconds. And then we went to the point where we were backtracking through the rest of the house trying to figure out where to go. Because I don't know how you felt, but I assumed it would just be a quick time event. Because
I walked up beside it. Like, you were standing looking at it, and I walked up beside it because I was expecting it to be like, oh, press X to, like, shove it out of the way. Cause you're
right.
350 pounds, like, Hulk Hogan wrestler doll.
Yeah, everyone is Macho Man Randy Savage in that universe, and it's got to be terrible. It's not great. But no, it's not even a quick time, which is weird because I feel like back then the groan would be like, ugh, I gotta shoot this bookcase until it breaks, and then to show off the, destruction construction physics or whatever in this engine, and then I can open it up and leave. In now times, I think our groan is like, ugh, I have to press X 5 times in a row in order to shove this bookcase out of the way. I don't really know, but the weird thing is that kept happening. There were a few other events, like there's another section where you have to walk across a graded floor, but you can only do it by stepping on these planks, and at random the planks would fall. It's very bizarre. And honestly, it's moments like this where I'm like, they only happen once or twice in the entire game, so why are they here?
But to me, it felt a little ham-fisted. Like you've already made me open 7 doors by kicking them the exact same way. I think I'd honestly rather open 8 than open 7 and shoot this one.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Absolutely.
They get a pass for the hidden lab door that we had to find.
Yeah.
That was actually, like, to some extent, made sense with the story.
Oh, and I nearly forgot the weirdest part, which is when you're going into, there's a section where, so eventually the game slowly reveals its plot to you, and it's that the humans have a bomb, which I think we're still not clear if it's supposed to blow up all of the locusts or the monsters, or if it's just supposed to blow up their hive or their like base of operations. But in order to deliver the bomb, you need to get this thing. What do they call it? The resonator?
The thing we start with, or that we get from the other squad or whatever. Yeah. It's the resonator, which they also never completely explain.
They don't explain it until they show you how it works. Like, there's a little cutscene, and they're like, here's the resonator, and it's supposed to, like, echolocate all the tunnels that the monsters use so that the bomb can blow them up, I guess. It's definitely 2006 sci-fi video game logic.
It's what they expected us to have this year.
Sure, and here we are, without it. Or if we do have it, the government wouldn't tell us. But, so, there's a point where you have to, something doesn't work, they don't, once again, this game, there's so many uncertainties, but then they use the uncertainties to, like, push the plot along. Something doesn't work with the resonator, and they're like, we're sending you into the mine to set it up manually, or something like that. So you have to go through this abandoned mine, which involves you going through, like, almost like a Disney sequence. Do you remember you get on the mine carts?
Yeah.
And you're rolling...
It reminds me of something from, like, Kirby Air Ride.
Yeah. It's honestly like the... Yeah, Kirby Air Ride.
Or for some reason, like, that was a series where you were supposed to be, like, little platforming dude running around. And in this one, like, you're supposed to be, like, the soldiers, like, running back and forth, taking cover, like... And then they just throw you in a minecart, and they're like, now this is it's already a rail shooter, but now it's an actual rail shooter.
And the best part is, I don't know if you were paying attention to this, the best part is that there's, you're passing mine corridors, and there's guys shooting at you. But as you start going down, there's a part where you're in, like, this pitch black cave, because you're actually going into the mines, and there's a dude standing on top of a platform that, like, how did he get up there? It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. In the center, he's on like a it's supposed to be like a drill head or
yeah,
something.
He's on like a giant drill, and I can't remember whose character says it, but one of the characters in the game goes, "How did he get there?" And you keep rolling by him, and it's like, what are we doing? I think that's ultimately the question I had playing this game was, what are we doing?
I think in the end, honestly, the question is, what are we doing, and why don't the characters seem like they care?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. The characters. Do you want to just talk about the ending, by the way? Because the ending is its own thing. When we started this game, I was like, what is... One of the main things I remember is that the ending doesn't make sense. And the ending made less sense than I remember.
I remember playing it alone when I played through it the first time.
Sure.
And getting to the ending and just thinking, oh, I must have zoned out and missed something important in that cutscene.
Right.
Then this time I paid attention to the cutscene, and I will be fully honest, it didn't make sense. That I could gather.
So you go down into the mines and you place the map resonator thing and it works. And then you go back up through the city again. And then suddenly you fight your way to a train station. And then someone says, any second now, the train with the bomb is gonna be here. And then it rolls by, and you have to jump. And then in the cutscene, your character jumps on and is like, "Oh, I'm so glad we made it." There's no part of it which is established. It just has. So it's a litany of confusion. But at the end, you're there, you're on the train, and you have to deliver the bomb. And two things are confusing to me to this day that I out loud said to you. I was like, what the fuck is happening? One, the whole time you're in this game, you're in, like we talked about, a very enclosed, kind of claustrophobic feeling, like Gothic city kind of architecture, right?
Yeah.
You get onto the train, and suddenly you're in this, like, desert area with city, like, skyline on both sides.
Yeah.
But the sky...
you're on the plains now.
You're on the plains, and then if you look up in the sky is a weird, like, grayish yellow kind of color, and there's
Smoke?
there's like constant inky smoke clouds, and what looks like demons, like, going up. It looks like the Rapture, honestly. And I was like, this is the most bizarre design choice this entire game has made, because I have no concept of what's happening. And then you fight your
one time that they decided to, like, kind of vary up the environment, which, like, good on them for trying, but it was still gray.
They switched it for a nightmare world. It's so confusing. And so then you fight your way through the train to secure it, or whatever nonsense they tell you to kill people on the train for. And then at the end, the person guarding the bomb is the general of the Locusts, who they established like 2 or 3 times before. They don't tell you why he's there or how he got there. You're like, oh, literally someone comes over the intercom and goes, "That's Rom. He's got the bomb. You need to take him out."
And you're just like, oh.
You're like, I guess so. But at that point, I think we had resigned ourselves to whatever was going to happen in that game was just going to happen. You want to talk about the krill?
Yeah, I think we've covered all the major things that we had issues with, or that we thought were good or bad,
or pertinent to retelling the story. There's not really much of one. It's just you go city block to city block until you go to a mine. Once you leave the mine, you're back in the city. And then when you leave the city, you're on a hell train. And then you have a boss fight. Basically, that's the game.
The huge exception is the krill. Who I've looked up pictures of them because the game's like low res enough you can't tell what they are. They look like birds or something when you're playing the game. They're actually like little, like, flying mouths with tentacles.
Yeah, that checks out, honestly. With the rest of the aesthetic for the monsters, it checks out.
But the krill are, I'm just gonna call them birds for simplicity's sake. The flying bird enemy of the game. And they come out at night, and they attack in big swarms. Big enough that if you are standing in the dark because they don't like the light, they just instantly kill you.
Which is actually not a bad gameplay mechanic. It is actually, because they introduced it, hour 3, maybe?
Yeah, it's like midway through chapter 2. So you're probably like, you've got a good hold on fighting the Locust, and you fought the Berserker.
So you're starting to understand how the game plays, but also how the world kind of exists. You kind of have a handle on what's going on, and then the sun starts to set, and then they introduce the kind of krill enemy, which I was fine with. But But
I like them. I do think it was a good choice to
see, I feel
be like, here's something drastically different than what you've seen so
I
far.
feel a butt coming though.
But what I can't get over is the fact that they just never really elaborate on them, because they're these, I would argue, more dangerous than the locust, because we can kill every locust we've seen,
Right.
even the big one.
Like you said earlier.
Originally, when I encountered them, and the first time I played through, I didn't really think it through. I assumed they were like the locust,
With the
they
bad
had
guys.
some amount of intelligence, and we're kind of like in on the war thing. Like maybe not intelligent, but kind of like the equivalent of, say, like a war horse or like
Sure.
a dog.
Because they established that there's other little monsters that the locusts use to help them fight humans, like to burst through the ground and stuff like that. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
But then you're one of the first time you see the krill, it's them attacking locusts that
Yeah.
are standing in like a darkened little area. So from that anyway, I assumed that they were just wild animals, which is fine. That's completely fine.
So
If they're wild animals that target like NPCs and player characters.
which is one thing that we do, Owen, when we play games together, is that we obsess over the lore or the lack of lore, and we try to rationalize it for ourselves. And this was part of it, which is that later there's a sequence where you get to a car and the car has lights which scare the locusts away, and you're driving around and they kind of show you the city on like a bigger scale because you're on the highway at some point and then you're through the streets and stuff like that. The city is destroyed. There's nothing left of it, right? It looks like Germany in 1945. It's just rubble. That, mixed with monsters that pop out of the ground at any time they want to just kill people, mixed with the fact that at night, flesh-eating bats come out and they eat you if you're not in the light, just led me to just be like, why are we here? Like, what is the point of the war? Because there's clearly nothing for us here.
There isn't at all.
And they don't, and the worst part is, like you said, they don't even clarify that's Earth, so there's not even a reason for people to be fighting over it. Like, you should just cut our losses, gang. Just get out.
We were on Earth and got invaded. This is a different planet, and we were here for, I don't know, they don't actually
tell you.
I always assumed, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years. Cause you
Oh, really?
buildings built.
I always thought way longer for some reason. I always thought there was like an alternate reality Earth where people just showed up one day and they're like, this is what we're doing here. And then bugs.
The only thing that makes the krill more confusing, when I've established anyway in my head that they're just wild animals.
Sure.
We just decided to deal with that. The locust just decided, fuck it, we're just gonna deal with them. Until you get to that last boss fight with Ram.
Yeah! Oh my god, how could I forget about this?
And for some reason, so they like fly around him in the final boss fight, and you have to either shoot him a lot or throw an explosive at them, and they kind of like move off him and attack you, and then you can do actual damage to him.
Yeah.
But that implies to me some kind of control going on there. Like, he's not necessarily telling them what to do. Like, I think they're kind of reacting to like us shooting at them.
And considering that this is our first episode and you might be listening to this and you don't know us and this is your first time listening to two assholes talk about a 14-year-old game, you might think that we're nitpicking. And normally I would agree. Except that the game doesn't explain anything to you, and so you're left to figure things out, but it just gives you these curveballs left and right that make not a lot of logical sense, honestly. Which is...
No, and they tie them together later in the series, I believe. I don't actually remember enough to say exactly what they do and do not tie together, but...
Well, that's why I'm going to announce for us right now that if you stick with us, we're starting with Gears 1, and we're just going to roll through the Gears series, because they're relatively similar lengths. I think we've been able to do quite a bit of talking on this one, and honestly, the series can only go up from here.
It's only up from here,
It's
fellas.
there's no place left to go but up. So
So
yeah,
so I think we've talked about our actual playthrough as much as we possibly can. Well,
absolutely.
that's not true, but as
This
much
is
as reasonable.
as much as reasonable and as much as without getting into just fucking making fun of the game. Because I think we've said everything nice and thought provoking about the game already.
So, since you say the words nice, thought provoking,
Yes, this
I would
is
like to do.
is
I
an
would like to read
intellectuals game.
something that's the exact opposite of nice and thought provoking.
What is this?
So
What have you
I
prepared?
went, I went on Metacritic
Okay.
and found the Xbox 360 Gears of War user reviews.
Okay.
Metacritic itself thought that this was a good game overall. It's an 8.3 based on almost 2,700 ratings.
Yeah. Which goes back
2,000
to
good, 500 not so good.
yeah, that goes back to our understanding, which was that at the time that this came out, that this game was, pretty mechanically groundbreaking, felt pretty tight, and was fun to play, and was overall a decent experience.
So, I went on Metacritic and I read some of the reviews, and there are surprisingly actually a lot of reviews from the past 5 years.
Wait, these are recent?
So there's a pretty solid amount that are from 2006, 2007, 2008,
Okay,
when
okay.
the game was like relevant.
Back when people used websites and not social media.
But there's also some from 2016, 2017. There was a weird resurgence in 2016
Why?
with a lot of new reviews. I
Why?
assume probably
Get a
because
job.
Gears Remastered came out,
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good
and
point.
they were just like, yeah, I can't afford that. I'm gonna play the old one.
That's a good point.
I have a couple reviews that I think are the best because I sorted by best to worst and immediately went to the last page.
Classic. I don't know why I expect anything else.
And this one tugs at my heartstrings personally because I'll explain in a minute. It talks about a game that is near and dear to my heart. So this person in 2016, late 2016, said the game's overrated. I finished it like 5 years ago,
Okay.
and it's boring even for 2005 standards, which
It wasn't out in 2005, so
it wasn't.
that dude,
Um,
that's the one dude whose dad works at Microsoft.
But
On the
next
playground.
thing-
He's like, I got to play it early.
The next thing he said was, Shadow the Hedgehog is a better shooter than this bland, boring factory room of crap.
Damn.
And
Anytime that someone brings up Shadow the Hedgehog in an argument, the game is, well, it's not boding well for you. I'll say that much.
So, for anyone that doesn't know, Shadow the Hedgehog was a
We all know.
teen game
We all remember.
that was just Sonic with a gun.
Excuse me, Shadow that. I will not have you talk. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Next week, we talk about Shadow the Hedgehog for 3 hours. And how he's not just Sonic the Hedgehog with a gun. Okay? I won't have you talk. I will not have you talk about Shadow the Hedgehog like that again, for the record. Finish your review.
I personally really enjoyed Shadow the Hedgehog. Because I was probably 10 when that game came out, and I remember it was one of the first times I ever went to the United States. That was the present my parents bought me. Shadow the Hedgehog, I think for the PS2.
You are honestly, I think I want to stop review this. Hey, everybody. Hey, 3 listeners listening to us. The Game Boys present the Games Club Treehouse of Games is canceled. And instead, in its place, we're going to start the Game Boys presents Owen's stories of games that his parents have purchased for him over the years. Because between this and WWE, there's a rich history here. There's a very rich history here.
It was a lot of my parents not really caring what what age level of media I consumed. So 12-year-old Owen was torn between playing Billy Hatcher, Shadow the Hedgehog, and like whatever the most violent thing I saw at Walmart in the $20 bin was.
Man, what a life! If we do nothing else with this series, I want to just get more of these stories out when they are like appropriate, because I feel like you must have a billion more. Did you have any other? Did you have any other reviews, or was that just, or was your Shadow the Hedgehog one it? Relationships, there are none in this game. None of the characters know who they are. They don't know how to interact with each other. They don't say anything. The only two like moments of actual character is that Baird, who's one of your little AI guys, is an asshole. He's rude to everybody for no reason. And Cole is kind of like a stereotypical black guy, and he's really into the future version of football, thrash ball. I believe that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's honestly as far as the actual relationships. You just get the I am a insert lower rank military personnel, and I have a begrudgingly non-committal relationship to my higher up.
Sure.
But that's about it.
And then there's, of course...
Go ahead.
Sorry. And then there's, of course, the two highlights of the game. Sergeant Min, who is a stereotypical Asian man, which I guess in the 2000s they couldn't make an Asian character who wasn't, like, overly tough, had a name longer than 4 characters, because I think Min is just M-I-N, and he's bald, of course. Shaved head. And he doesn't even have emotion. There's literally no character there to him.
He is, like, literally, like, completely blank face. He has no facial hair, like, no scars, nothing like that.
No eyebrows.
He has no hairhead. And they kind of have him as just your, like, you need to go over there, like, AI guy.
He's kind of a hard-ass sergeant until he, spoilers, dies. And then there's, of course, the second, and probably the MVP of the entire game, Private Carmine, who is the best, because he's kind of like what the studio imagined a beta male was in 2006. He's got kind of a crackly voice. He's the only character who isn't 350 pounds of pure muscle. He's like a scrawny dude. He wears a helmet. You never see his face. And he is unfortunately killed on the line of duty because he doesn't know how his gun works. And when he tries to get someone to fix his gun for him, he gets unfortunately taken out by a sniper. But for the brief hour and a half that he's in the game, he's the star of the show.
He's the true king among kings.
He is the king among kings. Because he always has dumb shit to say that you want to hear. And he's just, I don't know. There's a special place in my heart.
On the subject of relationships, there is one. And
it's
him.
Yeah, it's him. He's the only guy that you actually... Honestly, though, I don't know if we'd be saying this if he survived. I think the only reason why he's memorable, though, is because he does get shot in the head very unceremoniously. And he's just kind of killed in action. And you're not, like, left to know what else could have been if he had survived the war. Now...
Probably nothing.
Probably
he
nothing.
Didn't have a face.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that character model did not have a face under that helmet.
Oh, that he was just a helmet fused to the rest of the body. Now, you read your reviews, and I gotta say, you inspired me to find my own reviews. And so I went over to the Xbox store, which you can view either in the Xbox, or you can go to Xbox.com and go through the store there. Now, the reviews are a little more unhinged because they're average users. So I'm going to start with this 1-star review because I also, for some reason, there are people still reviewing this game. People like me, I guess, and you, who are playing this game right now and reviewing it. And so I have from August 17th, 2020, user Amy Schumer 7578 says, terrible. 1 star. Not as good as Fallout 76. And so I'm not really sure where to go from there, quite honestly. I'm not sure how I can compare it to Fallout 76. I've also never touched it. I don't think you could pay me personally enough money to play that game.
He's decided to compare here.
Yeah.
I don't personally agree with her.
Okay. Why not? Where to begin?
So, I honestly don't know where to begin. I would say the 10-year gap in production
Sure.
probably gives Gears of War just some bonus points above a 1.
Now, what if I told you that more celebrities were reviewing this game than we may have thought?
Please.
Suspicious Links reviewed this game. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be reading their names out loud. Maybe.
You can just beep it out.
Yeah, I think I might have to bleep because I don't know if I want people fucking with these guys. Someone reviewed this game May 31st, 2019. They gave it 5 stars, and they said, "Gears of War?" ? More like Tears of War, cause this boy always be crying about something. Am I right? Just kidding. Good game. Sincerely, Leonardo DiCaprio. So,
Who is he referring to?
who's the boy? Who's this boy?
Yeah.
I have no idea because there's no crying in the game. So maybe he's referring to himself. Maybe Leo is always crying about something.
That could be.
That's what I'm gonna have to say. What is it about this game that is like bringing out the stars?
It was a groundbreaking third-person shooter. I think they all played it at one point or another.
Now, I don't want to pick on these people. Someone reviewed this game in 2017. They gave it 1 star. They said, worst game I've ever played. Absolute garage. So
before you go any further,
yeah.
I want to unceremoniously make a very bold statement that we may never explain further.
Sure. Absolutely.
With no explanation beyond the title of the game, what is the worst game you've ever played?
Oh. Fallout 76. Well, folks, that's all the time we have tonight. No, I am not sure. I feel like you're winding up because you have an answer, though. You have a showstopper. I can feel it. Lay it on me, man.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a showstopper because I have no idea whether or not anyone played the game. I really liked buying just the cheapest game I saw at EB Games.
I used to do the exact same thing.
There were a lot of copies of, so like Fallout 3 was always like $5.
Yeah.
I got The Last Templar.
The Last Templar.
And that's all I'll say. That is, I believe, the worst game I ever played.
The Last Templar. If you're listening to this, I want you to write in to us. Well, we're going to link our email at the end of the show. If you know what The Last Templar is, I want you to tell me. And I want you, if you can back up with Owen, that it was, in fact, the worst game ever.
Real quick, I was wrong. It's the first Templar.
I take it back. Okay, well, one, if you actually know what the Last Templar is, write to us. But if you know what he's talking about with the first Templar, I want you to tell us as well. I'm very curious now. Actually, I'm remembering the worst game I ever played was similarly, I also used to just buy whatever $5, $10, $15 game I could get my hands on. There was a game called Defiance. It was based on a TV show. Yeah. It was an MMO on a console. It was terrible.
Wasn't it supposed to be like a kind of a showcase of like, look, you can play on your PC or on your 360.
I think it was, yeah, when they were trying to. Although I will say is that the jokes are not on them; they're kind of on us because Destiny would go on to become a ridiculously popular game, right? Like,
That's true.
it's kind of. We're doing that thing where we're just trailing off, and we're probably just going to go back to talking about your Christmas presents. Would you like to wrap up for us?
I think we should probably briefly say, Andy, first, so let's say we'll do this in two parts.
Okay.
First, someone who has played Gears of War in the past, so like say like someone did the same thing we did where they played it 10 years ago.
Okay.
Do you recommend coming back and giving it another run?
No.
No.
I think if you want to go back, because here's the thing: if you go to Game Pass, you can. I think you can play the remake of 1. You can play 4 and 5.
You can play all of them.
Oh, you can.
Reasonably, those are the ones you want.
Well, I think if you want to go back and you want the memories of an old Gears game, play 2 or 3. 2 we're gonna cover next week, and we're gonna give I feel like we're gonna have a better discussion with that. But I think if you want the old school experience, like you remember, you want to play Gears 2 or you want to play Gears 3. Gears 1 is frustrating. It's bland. It's the cereal that your mother made you eat, and not the cereal that you want to eat.
It's
when you were a kid.
The thin wheats to your Reese's Puffs.
Hold on. What is a thin wheat? Do we have time to go into what a thin wheat is?
We do, because it was me trying to describe the cereal that is Shreddies.
What are Shreddies?
I know I'm not making this one up. I know this is right. Yeah,
Okay.
They're just like, Bits and Bites.
You have to stop making these up. I swear to God. I swear to God. Okay. Listen. That's it. We're done.
So, the last thing I guess I have to say, and I know the answer, should somebody who's never played this game go back and play it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Once again, no. Because I think one thing we're going to talk about next week when we do Gears 2 is that the first 5 minutes of Gears of War 2 explain the 8 hours of Gears of War 1 in a much more succinct and understandable answer. I think if you're as bored as we are, and you have absolutely nothing else to do, if you play it with a friend, you're going to have fun. But
yeah, I'd say that's right.
If you're looking for to get a new experience or a worthwhile experience out of a game, you're not going to find it. So, I would say move on. In fact, if you're enjoying the hour that we had where we rambled about this game along with other things such as fake cereals, you can play along with us. Play Gears of War 2 with us, and then when you when you tune in next week, you can kind of have a reference point for how we are talking about this game. I think that's the way to go. Did you want to give this a number score or a letter score?
So I am going to give it a couple, actually.
A couple of. Wait, hold on.
So honestly, I also replayed the remastered, redone version of this game.
Oh, what a surprise! What a pleasant surprise!
I would say the 2015 Gears of War is what this game wanted to be, obviously.
Right.
And I would give that Gears of War an 8 out of 10. Now that the mechanics are a little bit more smoothed out, the graphics are up-resed and a little better.
Hold on.
The models don't look so bulky.
Hold on. I take issue with this. The story's still the same, though, bruv.
The story is still the same, and that's why it's losing those 2 points.
Really? Oh, man. See, I would not be as nice about this game as you are being. I feel like I would slash this game a lot more.
A bit of an older perspective on everything that was happening in the world.
Sure. I see what you're saying. I don't know if I'm going to give out scores because I don't really I don't when I play a game I don't think I really consider scores in mind. 6 out of 10 seems fair. I think largely most of the fun we were having was because we enjoy each other's company more than the actual game itself.
That's true.
So I think that's why I go back to the recommended. If you have a really long time friend who you just enjoy playing games with, and you guys have played everything else under the sun, then I think you two will have a 6 out of 10 experience, just having fun, laughing, and blasting. When I say you two will have a 6 out of 10 experience, it's not a very positive endorsement. I'm realizing that now.
Um, I'll let you have the final word.
Yeah?
But just for future reference, I will be forwarding you a picture of a Shreddy's box.
Okay. I will be not answering any of my messages on any of my social media because I refuse to believe that Shreddies are real. I'm trying to think about what the name of the brand that I'm thinking of is that they put all the sports people on. If you have any information on what that shredded cereal was called, Wheaties. I'm thinking Wheaties they're called. Sorry, I apologize. Which when you really get
they're the same thing.
Okay, well, I'm not from a fake place where we call them Shreddies.
No, never mind. I looked them up. They're not the same.
Yeah, they're not the same thing. They're definitely not. I also just now opened my phone to see a notification that you sent me a photo. I'm not looking at it. Now, I just wanted to say, if you did listen to this, if you're still here, thanks. And I hope you enjoy our further reviews to come. We want to go through, next week is going to be Gears of War 2, and then we want to do 3, 4, and 5. And after that, I'm not sure. If you would like to talk to us, if you'd like to leave a question, comment, or concern, you can hit us up at our Instagram, which is at Gameboys Treehouse. Gameboys with a capital G, Treehouse with a capital T. Or you could also email us at gameboystreehouse@gmail.com, where one of us will look at your questions. And then maybe next week we can do like a little Q&A section if anyone actually writes to us. Do you have anything else to say, Owen, before we blast off?
No, I think that's it for me.
All right. So until next time, we've been the Game Boys. You've been in our treehouse, listening to us whisper sweet nothings about video games. Ta-ta-ta for now.